How's it going, everybody? Good evening. Welcome to Carpo's channel, and I'm going to get right to it. Tonight I decided that I'm going to take a few minutes. It's about 8 o'clock p.m. on 10/10/17. I'm going to make a video, well, that's Pacific time, if you will. My son goes to bed. My kids go to bed in about an hour. I told my wife I'm going to go in there. I'm going to make this video that I've been meaning to make for a while. And so here I am. I've got my coffee and my bong and my vape. I'm ready to go, right? So, who am I to tell you anything about anything? I'm just a nobody. But I'm somebody to myself, and I'm somebody to people who I converse with, and they're somebody to me. The only thing that makes us somebody is what we can show, our work, the things that we've learned, and the ability to convey that to other people in a way that helps them. And that's why tonight's video is about gurus and false-ass prophets. Fake-ass bullshit. And I don't even mean to put it in those terms, and pardon my language, but maybe that might come across as offensive to some people, but what I'm trying to do is break open the boundaries, this idea that there's these people who have it all figured out and can help you with your life, to improve your life. And maybe it's that I've seen too many people promising that they will help you achieve your fortune, your sexual dreams, your financial dreams, academics, everything you ever wanted to know for a certain price. Whether it's a one-time fee of $599 or a meager fee of $10, a person has to ask themselves, what is a person's opinion really worth? Now, if you come out and make a video and you say, hey, I'm asking for donations and I'm hoping that people will help me fund my channel, or people will fund my idea, whatever it might be, people will look at your work and they'll say, okay, this is what the person does, this is what I'm getting, this is the value. This sounds good. Well, when it comes to a guru or a self-help person these days, it's more like, show me the money first and then I'll give you my first book, and then you can finally be on your way to figuring these things out. And what I've found over the years is that none of these guys have it remotely figured out. And I can say that coming from Carpo Guru's standpoint. Take it for what you will. It's a complete joke. I'm not an arrogant person. I know that I know a lot of things, and I respect my own viewpoint because I have developed it. Because I have done the homework. I've done the legwork. I've been through a lot of fucked up shit in my life. I've been through a lot of great times in my life, and I've understood the complexity of the web of life, being able to weave those things together in order to maximize pleasure while at the same time not denying pain. And that is life. I spent 4 or 5 years with sciatic pain in my lower back, and there were times when I couldn't even sit down. I mean, I understand so many different aspects. I lost my father when I was 15, so I know the emotional pain. I know the physical pain. I understand also the pleasures. I like to have fun. I like to do things. I consider myself fortunate and grateful for what I do have, but I would never consider myself a guru or an expert on life. And there are too many people out there who are playing that role. And I kind of had a few things I wanted to mention at first, and I did take a few notes, but I ended up just freestyling it as usual, and it's difficult to convey the basic idea that I'm not trying to offend anyone here. And if a person is benefiting from the assistance of someone else's mental awareness or things that they've experienced, I think that's fantastic. And there are a lot of people that need help. So here's the thing, there's nothing wrong with charging for a person's help. It's a matter of what it's really worth. You know, it may be worth $10 an hour to someone to sit down and talk with someone who can actually help them with their problems, or donate a few bucks to their cause. But no, it's not worth $500 to sit in on a webinar where somebody tells you about how to ascend to the next level or activate your chakras. That's complete bullshit. And so to kind of start with where I'm coming from here, these are nothing new. This is not something that just popped up out of nowhere. New Age is not New Age, it's Old Age. It's within the ancient, it doesn't take more than, a couple of days of research to understand where the mystery schools were coming from, mystery schools of Alexandria and ancient Egypt, to read a few of the basic texts that lay out these frameworks of manifest your own destiny, these realities that people will tell you they can charge you for, but things that we all know within our hearts, that we create our own realities, but it takes work. Anyone who's promising you a shortcut to fortune, fame, happiness, it's bullshit. There are no shortcuts, because happiness is in direct contrast to the experiences we've had that allow us to recognize happiness. And I don't know how else I can convey that. It seems like the simplest thing. I mean, there are people who will charge you to tell you that you need to balance your life, And people, here's the thing, in India, they have ashrams, and they have these gurus where people will follow them to the end of time. This one guy recently was accused of rape, and all of his followers ended up mobbing in these towns, and they actually had to shut down the railways to the town where they were holding the court appearance, because they didn't want it to be overrun by these followers. A couple people were really hurt. I don't remember. I think a couple people actually died from this, rioting from these people who said, let him go, but he's a criminal. But people are so invested in one person, they're willing to sacrifice their own control over themselves, because they believe that one person is this savior, is this true guru, this hero. Those are the extreme versions of gurus, but that's not the American way. The piddly little guy who sits behind his computer and thinks he understands the depths of the universe because he's had many people tell him he has. The more people that tell you, hey man, you're a great guy, you got it figured out, the more you may tend to become arrogant and say, wow, I really do have this figured out. And you do. We all do. That's the thing. We're all in this together, but we're all equal. We are all at the same level, no matter where we think we're actually at. I would convince myself, or consider myself to be, maybe convince myself, maybe that's subconscious psychology, I consider myself to be pretty well balanced in the sense of understanding how to control my emotions and myself. But at the same time, I'm still victim to the existence of being human and consciousness. How much is a person charging for their time? How much are they charging to tell you that you need this or need that? And that's the question people should be asking themselves. Is it affordable? Does a person offer a sliding scale? And I'm only saying this for the people who are at their last resort, because this is the sad thing. The people who need it the most are the people who don't have the money to do these things, who don't have the money to pay someone for their time, for a couple interviews. And my question is, who in the hell has the right to offer their services to other people on how to live their life? I was trying to think of an analogy before I made this video of what it's like for a person to tell another person over the internet or over the phone what they should do in their lives. It may be different if you understand the person. For a psychiatrist relationship with this patient, perhaps you really get into depth, but you still never know that person. But when it comes to being online, people hold back, people don't ever tell the full truth. And giving a person advice when you don't even know the full picture, they may tell you their life is miserable. I hate my job, I hate everything. And they say, oh, my relationship's fine, but in fact that's the problem. Or vice versa, maybe their job's, they hate their job, but they can't admit it to themselves. And so the person says, this is what you need to do to change your ways, this is what you need. And if that helps a person, so be it. But it's more often harmful when, the analogy I use is a mechanic telling a carpenter how to build a house, or a carpenter rather telling a mechanic how to work on a car. Both of them build things, both of them rebuild things they can fix and repair. Both of these things are necessary: shelter, transportation. But if you're so arrogant that you really think that you can tell a mechanic how to build a house and have him do it for someone else, that's the analogy I have, you know, for a person trying to tell us how to live our lives, or you, or me, anyone, or me trying to tell you how to live your life, because it's not like these people are exclusive. And the reason I'm saying this partially is because I've had so many people message me privately or email me and say, hey man, you know, I'm just really curious, what should I do about this? You know, I've had people message me saying they're suicidal and they don't know what to do. And putting that burden off on me, I instantly feel like I have to respond, and I do, of course, but it makes me realize how desperate people are and how much people want help. And my idea and my point here, before it gets away from me, is to say you have the strength to be whoever you want to be, to do whatever you want to do. It's just a matter of being rational and reasonable. You know, you're not going to be king of the world. You need to be king of yourself. And that's the advice I can give. And I'll do it for free. I'm not here to charge for my advice, because these are things we need to share. And I guess that's why it bothers me that people are charging to tell you how to be happier. Even though it's not even how to be happier. The fact that they're even suggesting. You know, like I said, if you haven't seen Kumare, it's totally worth seeing. It was on Amazon a couple of years ago. But this guy created a complete delusional cult around himself. He basically put himself, he was from the Bronx, I think, in New York. And he was from Indian descent, so he decided to pretend he was a guru, wear these robes, and see if he could get followers. And he ended up with all these followers, claiming that he was healing them. And it gets into the realm of placebo. And to get this out of the way, people will say, so what? If it works for people, so be it. And I say completely, I agree with that. But how much are they paying? And are they suffering and sacrificing other parts of their life so they can pay this person to tell them how to live their life? Because, you know, I'd be honored to help people do that for free if I could. But it seems like people don't find value unless they're spending fucking money. Fucking money, you know, pardon my language, but that's what it is. People want to spend money on something because they feel like they're getting their value. If I'm going to sit here and tell you that, well, you have the power within you to find your own truth, but it's going to take time, you don't want to hear that. You want to hear you can overnight change your whole mindset. And that's complete bullshit. Nothing changes overnight. There are very few situations where a person can like switch, totally change their psyche. It happens, but we're overlooking the long process. Anybody can sell a book to someone and tell them how to change their life. It's much more difficult to follow up with questions for the next 3 or 4 or 5 years while a person develops themselves and realize that maybe they were on a different path altogether and you didn't know what you were talking about. And this goes out to all those wannabe gurus. The people who maybe have got enough props from other people to think that you really know what you're talking about. And maybe you do, but charge accordingly and be fair. Be reasonable. You shouldn't make millions of dollars off of people's suffering and hardships and pain and hope. Because that's what it is. It's profiting on hope. The same thing with astrologers, modern astrologers, you know. And here's the thing with all of these people, the self-help people, it's not that all of them mean ill, and that's the thing I wanted to really convey. It's not that they're all out here trying to jip at people. A lot of them are scam artists, but a lot of them just really believe in what they're saying. They really believe that they can help you. This is like, my perfect example would be the current president. He actually believes he can do the things that he's saying he can do. And I only bring that up because he says he's the only one that can do it. He has an ego to believe that he really can do these things. And that's the same ego that goes along with, you know, self-help. Or to the extreme anyway. You know, if you're charging $599 for a course, you know, there's something suspicious. The fact is, anybody who uses 99s as a businessman, this is off the subject, but I'm urging all people who own a business to stop the 99 bullshit. You know, even in my business, I won't use 99s. I may $79 or $59 is one thing, but $99.99 is just preposterous. It basically makes us all feel like suckers. So anyway, if you're in this new age, you know, realm and you're selling things for something $99, it just shows me that it's all a marketing ploy. And You know, it reminds me of I was reading an article earlier before I made this video about somebody. It was confessions of a failed self-help guru or something, and she was talking about one time when she was at a speech at this event, this convention, and Deepak Chopra was there. Now, if you don't know Deepak Chopra, he's like one of the most renowned, like, you know, gurus, and this was in his heyday when everybody was like, oh, it's Deepak. And she said she was sitting there backstage, and as Deepak was walking up to go on stage, he asked his assistant, he said, do I look fat in these khakis? And it was, she said for her it was the wake-up call. Like, but it took her a while to kind of really realize, oh, this is not worth it. But that, to me, that's all I needed to hear, you know, from that guy anyway. You know, do I look fat in these khakis? Here's this supposed, like, guy who's past ego, who's past fear and worrying about how he looks in his pants. And the thing is, it's okay. That's the thing. As long as you admit that it's okay. But many of these same people pretend like ego doesn't exist. Eckhart Tolle is the same way. I'm not, and I don't mean to offend people, because I know a lot of people really look up to these guys. And I'm not trying to say, hey man, these gurus are bullshit, but it doesn't work for everyone the way they want to pretend it does. And that's a fact. It's just how it is. Nothing's so cut and dry. Lives are complicated, and no one person understands other people's lives well enough to sit and speak in front of thousands of people and expect more than at least 1% to get it. Because we're so different. We are all so different. We come together over patterns and small strings which drag us together, and the commonality we have is language and the way we look. People look slightly different, they're an outcast. Oh, you have a face of, you know, somebody who has a disease or something, oh, you're an outcast. Lepers. It's always been that way because we congregate towards patterns. And this is why religion has helped us bond. Politics have helped us bond. But in reality, it's driven us further apart. And we're all looking for answers to these questions. That's the thing. People are promising you answers. And the one thing you should ask yourself is if you ever have, if you're ever in question of a guru or whatnot, you know, somebody who claims to be a guru or a self-help expert, life coach, whatnot, do they ever say, I don't know? Because a narcissist never says, I don't know, or I'm wrong. They always have an answer. And sometimes we just don't know. And that's okay. And to train yourself to not say, I know everything, is hard. It's not that easy, you know, to actually rather to allow your brain to just instantly say, I don't know, if you really don't know something, instead of trying to make something up to try to fill in the gaps. You know, that's helpful. You know, people want to have an answer for every problem, too. Many of these guys want to tell you exactly what problems you have and exactly how to fix them. And it's always the same things. How do you get more sex? Have more money? It's so pathetic. Even The Secret, you know, or like these books about how to get what you want. And they're all... What works is the person has the mindset to do something. That's what does it. It has nothing to do with a method. Because if one person had invented a method to obtain all the wealth you wanted or to live the best life you wanted, it would have happened by now that everyone would have shared that. People don't hold back on these things. Hey, this is the way. But there's several different ways. And just like diets, they work short term like a fad, and over time they fade. We need something consistent, and that means we have to keep working on it and working on ourselves, becoming better people. That's what life's about. Becoming a better person consistently and realizing we were flawed so we can be better. If you can't see your flaws, you'll never be better. The one thing that many of these people will tell you is that the material world is garbage. People will act as if the fact that we live on Earth is somehow dirty or disgusting. This is often a reflection of themselves and how they feel. And they will often also tell you that you know, people are flawed or people are crooked. Just like religion has magnified that by saying we're all sinners from birth. But for a different discussion, of course, but the idea that we're somehow corrupt or flawed is ludicrous to me. The idea that we flaw and corrupt ourselves and want an excuse for it, that makes sense to me. We are sinners, but we choose those sins. We choose to do these things. And we don't teach our children properly. We don't teach ourselves properly and become better people. And we know in our hearts what's right and wrong. But we don't need somebody else to point out obvious things we need to do in our lives. Well, you should really think more positive. Well, you know, you should really enjoy life more. Oh, you should go out and have more vacations. Wow, thank you. You're such an awesome guru. You know, and not to be too condescending or cynical, but that's the reality of it. And I guess the material worldview, when you ignore the material world, you're ignoring the fact that we live in a material world. That this is the reality we're given. You can think whatever you want about before you were born or after you die. You can pretend this whole cosmic delusion, cosmic mind. I've been there, I understand, I know, and I still feel like we are a cosmic mind. But you can't use that to profit on. That's something that is too special, too tight, too close to our hearts to profit on, just like religion shouldn't be profited on. And so the material world is something to be cherished, not something to be brutalized. And the mystery schools, I've studied so much of that stuff, it's not even funny. I had a book out here earlier, it was the Secret Teachings of All Ages by Manly P. Hall. And totally coincidentally, he came on a documentary I was watching today about the stock market crash of 1929. I think it was it 1919 or 29? I think it was 29. Yeah. And it was weird to see Manly P. Hall on there. But anyway, I had that book out today, The Secret Teachings. And I've read so much stuff about mystery schools of Alexandria and Egypt and all the ancient knowledge. These things that these people draw on. And I get it and I understand it to the point where, yes, they didn't get it. Nobody really gets it. We use pictures and metaphors to describe our lack of understanding and trying to put it in a way that we could convey it to future generations. But there are people who pretend like they understand these things. There are people who pretend like they've decoded some kind of master plan, whether it be numbers or pictures or otherwise, or ancient texts. You know, even Da Vinci spent the last several years of his life trying to decode the Bible. He swore there was a Bible code in there. And so many people like him have done this. People are obsessed with finding answers. And when they're doing it on their own accord, that's fine. But when they're selling it to you, that's not okay. Because they don't know what they're talking about. When they use a term like quantum, when anybody uses a term like quantum, when it relates to New Age, I'm calling complete bullshit. There was a guy selling scalar energy, this guy Tom Palladino. I see his videos now and again and I comment like, bullshit, bullshit. I can't help it. It's not about being a skeptic. It's not about trying to disprove what people want to believe. It's about disproving the bullshit out there where people know damn well that what they're selling is garbage. Or, if they don't know, they need to know. And somebody's got to call these people out, because New Age, Old Age, it's all the same thing. Like, you know, and I'm willing to go head-to-head with anybody out there who thinks, you know, any of you who are New Age believers who feel offended by this, who say, well, that's not true. Go ahead. You post any comment, you know, disputing anything I've said here. Tell me what you have to share. Tell me what this vast knowledge is that you have. And that's not to be offensive, but to say that that's the reality. People want to sell. They want to make money. We all live in a society where we're forced into that realm where we have to make money. And there's nothing wrong with making money and helping people, as long as you're really helping people and you're being fair. That's the way I see it. What else is there? You know, it's basically beyond the quantum thing. It's meaningless words. When people say, hey, we all live in this quantum fluctuation within this vacuum of reality, and the mother wants us to be at the source with, you know, just back away. It's mumbo-jumbo. It's nonsense. None of it means anything. It's no better than somebody speaking in tongue and pretending like they know what it means. And the only thing else I would say is that just remember that the people who spend the most on this are the people who need it the most. But they're usually the poorest people. And I talked to one person who had spent over $10,000 on things like this, because I made a video like this a while back. I had another person tell me they spent over $100,000 on self-help and gurus. And so that's very inspiring for me still to this day, thinking of somebody spending over 100 grand on how self-help wannabe gurus that never brought them anything. So if you happen to have $100,000, you're welcome to deposit it right into my PayPal account. I'm always open to friends and family. Yeah, so that's all I've got to say about gurus. If you haven't seen Kumare, that's the one I was talking about, check it out. It's old, but still good. And just be aware, because I don't even like making videos like this. I feel like I'm like, stepping on people's toes. But, I'm not getting rich off of lying to people. Why should people? And if you're not lying to people, then show your work, show your math. What do you really have that other people don't have? What's your magic method? Because for thousands of years, people have been trying to figure out how to be happier. And that's really all we're after. My advice, if you want to be happier, decide to be happier. Work towards it. It'll take several years to finally wake up one morning and say, I've had a bad day, but I don't feel bad. I feel great. It really does take time. It takes effort. I've listened to so many Zen philosophers, like Manly P. Hall was phenomenal for his knowledge, but he was missing certain things. Alan Watts is a phenomenal speaker, but he's, missing the more serious side. So then we've got like Terence McKenna, who's he's far beyond psychedelics. He's a great philosopher, or was. Some of his stuff is phenomenal, but it has its shortcomings. Everyone has a piece to contribute to the pie. And all of us, you, me, all of us, our little piece, it's not as little as we think. Just because a person is famous and has been recognized and has books out doesn't mean a damn thing. We're all valid and we're all learning together. And the most important thing is to enjoy life a day at a time and to really move forward slowly and try to embrace everything that we have. So that's all I got. Peace and love. Talk to y'all later. Over and out.